All right, beautiful humans, welcome back to another episode of Naked Sunday. I'm gonna be stumbling over my words as we start. Whatever. I'm your host, Caleb Nelson, aka Leb, however you want to call me. This is our a day early to Valentine's Day. So shout out to all you couples out there. Shout out to all you single people out there who are nurturing a better relationship with yourself, because a great relationship with another person starts with a great relationship with yourself. So if you are single on this day, don't beat yourself up. Perhaps you're just preparing yourself for the relationship with another that you are worthy of. Don't settle short. And that leads right into where we're going with today's episode. Priorities. And as you may have seen on the title of this episode, this one's titled, Who is Holding Your Hand on Your Deathbed? A reflection in defining priorities. Now, this one's ultimately inspired by my wife. So to my dear Lexi, I love you. Thank you for being in my life. You have put up with a lot. You've inspired me. You continually stand by me. And more often than not, I just ask myself, what the hell did I do right to deserve you? And for that, I'm forever grateful to you. For anybody who doesn't know, my better half, I've put this woman through the ringer. There's a special place in heaven for her. And she's definitely got the halo already going above her head. But she's stood by me through different business fallouts, going broke, client and staff turnovers. She's gone through a pandemic with me. People in our family, in like family illnesses. The pandemic led to us closing the gym, me pivoting an online space. I'm an emotional roller coaster in a lot of things, and with the journey that is entrepreneurship, all while she has graduated with a master's and built her own career, become this strong, powerful, beautiful woman in her own right, looking to elevate herself and become an administrator and help support other teachers and school districts. And she's just an unbelievable human being. My friend Ian and I, we talk a lot about, he brought it up first, so he talks about in the trenches relationships. And he's another person who's been in the trenches with me. Obviously, it's being Valentine's Day and talking about romantic relationships, I'll lean it towards my wife. But to that effect, like, my wife has been in it with me during the good times and the growth times. I like to say that. And through each one of those times, we've come out stronger, more loving, more resilient relationship. And I'm sure as hell not easy to be with, to say the least. But growing through these events has really taught me a lot about where I need to spend my time and my attention. And there's a lot of times in life and a lot of things that I think people get lost on. Or like, when I have this, I will be happy. When I achieve that, I'll be good. And I am no different to this. I've struggled with this. A lot of times, my own sense of self-worth, I've struggled wanting to provide certain things for her and create an environment only so that she could just have an easy life, or whatever that would mean. And any shortcomings to that, I deemed a failure. But I started to realize over time is that most decisions we make in our day don't really matter. 99.99% of the things we do and we engage in are not really focused or geared around moving the needle forward on what we say we care about the most. Are the things that we just need to do every single day, like brush your teeth? Absolutely. Is that going to be some cataclysmic thing, like all said and done? No. But what I've discovered is that we say we want one thing, but most of the behaviors and the things we engage in every single day are not congruent with what we say we prioritize the most. And especially with the people I work with, everybody says, oh, well, family's the most important thing to me. My relationship to my wife or my relationship to my husband's the most important thing to me. Is it? That's a hard question to be confronted with because a lot of people say it, but what they don't realize, and this is something I'll lean into in a minute, is that during times of strife, usually, especially since most people I work with are business owners, whether the sales are down or revenue is in a tight spot or that inflection point, had nothing to do with the business. Is the business a sign and a symptom, or its lack of success or whatever you want to call it? It's a sign or a symptom of something greater. Because the business is fueling something else often for these people. It's a very vision-driven, mission-driven, heart-centered type of business looking to create great value and to provide a great service and a family-like appeal to those that are consumers of that service or product or what have you. Most people leave the priority to the last thing. They put it last on their agenda. Now, the reason why I love leaning into this question of who's holding your hand on your deathbed, it puts you square in the path and to confront ultimately the only thing that is going to matter. On your deathbed, what are you going to care about? And that's something I think about literally every day. To me, the relationships are the most important thing. If anything, learning how, and I've shared this on a few other episodes, in my lifetime, learning how to develop and create deep, meaningful relationships has been the greatest challenge for me. I struggled deeply in an effort to perhaps get better at it. Oftentimes I spend my days helping teach others how to develop better relationships with others, which is an ironic twist on that one. And of course, it also holds me more accountable. I better nurture the relationships that I say I want. But when you put it, some people might think that posing life and bringing life to that moment is it thinking that's really morbid. I find it very freeing because I get very clear on what is going on in my life. If what I'm currently doing is not getting me any closer to ensuring that the person I care about holding my hand on my deathbed is there, and not just there because they're out of obligation. I want them to be there because, as painful as that might be, they would not choose to be anywhere else because they deeply want to be by my side. And my hope is that it's with my wife. Then I ask myself, well, to do that, what do I need to do? I'd like to live a long time. I'm 35 right now, and they're going to listen to this. Well, when I'm posting it. If I'm going to live to 100, would be that another 65 years on this planet. Let's just call it that. How would I exist another 65 years on this planet in a way that would increase the odds of my wife still wanting to be there with me by my side 65 years from now? Now, I have actually had family members that have lived to 100, so that's not out of the question. What do I need to be able to do? What does that relationship need to look like? What do I need to do on a day-to-day basis? What are the habits of cultivating a relationship that can endure the test of time and endure the trials that come during that time, whether it's us building a family? Who the hell knows what's going to happen? If we have kids, Crazy shit goes down in this world. How are we going to respond? How do we set up a foundation of trust and love and admiration and appreciation and support and celebration and everything that comes with that, so that both of us can feel inspired, can feel supported, can feel safe enough to pivot, can support the others that and mentor others that are in their stead, like that we need to be there for, whether it's our children or our friends or whomever. And it's from that foundation that other success can flourish, whether it means we need to take care of our health in a certain way. What's our relationship with our, like, to our bodies, toward nourishing ourselves, towards movement, towards socializing with other people? What are the events we participate in? What are the routines we engage in? What does our business and our financial endeavors look like? What does our work situations look like, so that we can still have enough time freedom? How much time do we need together? How do we both feel supported? How do we like to be celebrated? How do we feel loved? These are the questions we need to ask. One of the most important questions I ask my clients, or at least my prospects, is how do your relationships affect your business? People write out great plans and business plans and all that other stuff. When it comes down to it, it's the culture of a business that matters. What is the culture? Culture is people interacting with each other. What are the values they hold dear? What's the glue that holds them together? What inspires them to show up? Your family unit is no different. Your culture ultimately is built one person at a time. And the best one-to-one relationship that you can think about is with your significant other, with your spouse, with your partner, whatever term you want to use. It's just words. It's the idea of what that is. That's your training ground. Many people are familiar with how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I tend to ascribe to that notion. And as I've looked at my relationship with my wife, she's often gotten the rough draft of how I think about things and how I work through problems and what I'm hoping to do and how I'm working through my life, for better or worse. And I give her a lot of credit, because sometimes it comes off pretty raw. And of course, that's something I've worked on over time. But it's thinking about these relationships in a way that respects them where they're at, with understanding that the way you're consistently communicating is probably how you're consistently communicating with everybody else, whether it's at work or with your friends or whatever. There is a common thread on how you communicate. Look no further for your truest version of yourself with who you show up with, but behind closed doors. It's your wife, it's your husband, whomever. But I think, again, it comes down to this really important idea of confronting the end, because that's how I look at solving any of these problems. Start with the end in mind. To me, the end is death on this journey called life. You could look at your relationship as a business, look at your business as a business, you can look at your health as a business. How do you get there? How are you prioritizing those things? If you're not making time allotted for your relationship, if you're not putting the energy and the effort in to the thing you say you care the most about, you're going to be a hypocrite. And then you're going to be surprised when eventually the levees break on that thing and you don't get what you want. Many people wait till it's too late. Not for nothing, I don't particularly like dealing with that, because that's very reactive. There's signs and symptoms all the time. I think a lot of people don't think of like, oh, well, I just had a poor performance at work last week. Well, how are things at home? Were you in a fight with your wife? Is your kid sick? It takes your attention. It grabs your attention, grabs your energy. How are you allocating those resources? It's super important so that you can have harmony in all these aspects of your life. Because do you still need to work? Sure. Got to put food on the table. Got to afford the lifestyle you're hoping to curate. Got to still take care of your body so you have the energy when you do show up at work. You need some time with yourself to be mentally acute. But you also need to be enriching those relationships so that you can support each other. It's relational capital. What if you do have to pivot? What if something happens and you need to change the external environment? What if your job, what if you lose your job? What if a pandemic happens? What if you need to shut down a business? What if you need to move into a new financial sector? Whatever, there's so many different things. What if somebody gets injured? But again, with all those things in mind, how do you keep that seminal idea, that number one relationship, that number one priority alive the entire time? How are you sustainably keeping that alive? And I don't think that's on people's radar until you are about to lose it. It's always when you're at the brink of divorce. It's always when your business is at the brink of failure. It's always when your doctor comes and says, hey, by the way, if you don't lose some weight, you're going to die. It's always when the end is near. And that's why I think it's so important to bring it up early and often, because if you are forced to confront it well in advance, it's really a great kindness. Now, it makes people squirm because you're going to think about a less than pleasant thought. It's a little scary. Most people have a massive fear of death. Most people don't want to think about that. It's not light and not fluffy. But what I've found on this exploration is that it removes a lot of the excess in the day-to-day. And I've found over time, increasingly less burdened by inconsequential things. It's made it much easier for me on the day-to-day to let go of the nonsense, to be able to just observe certain information or other people's behaviors or whatever, and dismiss and discern what's important and what's not important. Dismiss the things that are not in line with what matters at the end of the day, and discernibly keep around the things that are important and reallocate time in my schedule accordingly. As I mentioned before in the beginning of this, most things that you do in your day-to-day are not that important. They don't really matter that much at the end of the day. We forget that. We get caught up in all, I gotta do this, I gotta that. No, you get to do all those things. And you also chose to include those things in your life. Everything you're engaging in on a routine basis right now is because you chose to allow it into it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's because you allowed it to be. It's because you took on too many things. You said yes to too many things. And the cool thing is you can pivot. The scary part is pivoting. But if you're not clear on why you're pivoting, you're just like, I'm overwhelmed. Well, you just might pivot again and be like, I'm overwhelmed, and just run from one overwhelm to the next thing and repeat the same cycle. Getting clear on what is most important about the pivot allows you to communicate with who matters most in that. Because what you're also asking in that time is, who's going to hold you accountable? For my wife, it's carte blanche. You just tell me what's going on. I can't read your mind, so you got to tell me, am I messing up? Being a little vulnerable with you right now, like right as the new year's turn, I turned to her and said, hey, how have I been messing up as a husband to you this past year? I put a lot of pressure on myself to make a business this and this and that. She doesn't care. Yeah, she cares that I'm happy and I'm fulfilled. And ironically, of course, and I'm just feeling like in flow state and everything's great in our relationship, money flows every single time. That's the way it's been my entire life. I don't know why. It just is. But I show up present. I show up more as myself. I show up ready to serve. But these changes in the year, these turning points and these inflection points throughout the year, whether it's holidays or celebrations or whatever it is, for me, they serve as opportunities to check in. How am I doing? And I'll ask her straight up. And I get nice and emotional with her, and she can attest to this one. She knows that I like to get all emotional with her. I asked her that. Hey, honey, how have I been letting you down at this? Hey, I'm sorry if I've not been living up to what I said it mattered. Hey, was I putting the business or was I putting my own stuff first? I said that the inconsequential stuff that was my own. How could I made sure that I put the relationship first, because that's important to me. Because as I said, the number one thing for me is I want her holding my hand on my deathbed. Do we still need to make money? Do we still need to pay the bills? Do we still need to put food on the table? Do we still need to both take care of our health and well-being so that we have a longer time to continue to build a really prosperous life together and experience cool things like building a family and traveling and all? Yes, we need to do all those things. But it starts with, if we don't have each other first, none of that really matters. You got to take care of home base first. And it's easy to lose that when things go a little haywire. It's easy to lose that sight of that, lose sight of what's most important when you say yes to everything, when you don't protect your time, when you're not discerning with your responsibilities. Being very mindful about the boundaries you set up in your life, the core values you lead with, who you bring into your world, what you delegate out, what you keep in-house, all those different things are reflections of what you're saying is most important to you right now. The more you can be diligent about that and bringing it back to something like, here's what life is like at the end, that's going to matter. That's how it's going to work out. It's going to work the best because you're thinking of what's the ideal at the end. Most people think about the other way around. Simple idea is how you starting with a business. Just make sales, just make more money. And then do what? Oh, then I got to do this. And I got to, okay. What's the point of it all? To help people do what? And I think about with a client, where do you start? Well, what is this all for? Why does this matter? I want $1 million. To do what? To do what? What changes? What are you willing to do with the trade-offs? What are you willing to do with your time? What stress are you willing to accommodate for? What things are you willing to let go of? Everything comes with that. But if you're not clear about the end goal, if you're not clear on that, you're going to make a lot of wishy-washy decisions that are based off of what everybody else cares about. And I'm saying this from firsthand failure. I know I have gotten caught up in that. I've been distracted by plenty of these things. And I've been deeply blessed to have some pretty amazing people in my life to just help knock me back on track and hold me accountable and hold up the mirror, which speaks again to the power of relationships. What are you looking for? And learning how to have a collaborative conversation, because with my wife and I think about the household as a business, and her and I are business partners. What are we looking to do as a household? If we're looking to grow a family, what do they need? What resources do we need? How do we still keep our love alive when you have a emotional child around who does not know how to regulate their emotions, or what needs food, or if they get sick, or all of those things? Thinking about that right now before all those things happen. And this is before, and this is not like some announcement that we're pregnant, because that's not the case right now. But this is the foresight, and these are the things that I put myself through. And this is what I would implore anybody to think about when it's like business planning, it's life planning. Where are you going with all of this stuff? My end goal is pretty damn simple. I don't need a lot to do that. Do I like to complicate things? Sure. I make things a lot more complicated than I often should, but that's usually my own insecurities and whatever I'm grappling with at the time. And I've had my observations and in my experience of coaching other people, it's the same thing with them. Feeling insecure, feeling distracted, feeling pressures, feeling the I have to's of the world, trying to live up to the, keeping up with the Joneses kind of idea. It's leading with those superficial and unclear objectives and the shiny object thing that just keeps getting dangled in front of us that you'll see on TV or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, name your social media platform, that's just pummeling what you quote unquote should want in life. And there's cool stuff out there, don't get me wrong. But at what cost? And do you really care about it? And is it really moving the needle towards what matters to you? Are you going to be perfect on this? Absolutely not. We're human. That'd be a ridiculous assumption. As I listen to my dog snoring right here in the corner. Talk about priorities. He's got his priorities straight. He's just chilling, doing what he wants when he wants. Some lessons to be learned from some dogs like that. When they sleep, they sleep. When they eat, they want to eat. They go to the bathroom, they go to the bathroom, whatever. They got their priorities straight. Life might be a little simpler when you think about it that way. The same thing is going here. If I think that things are at odds with my wife, and I'm saying that I want her holding my hand on my deathbed, going to a business meeting that is late at night and it's not really as promising as it should be, and it's probably me really tired, should probably just invest a little more time and say, hey, how about I schedule a date night, or how about we just stay home and we talk about what's going on? Probably a more prudent investment of my energy. And if I'm feeling more stable from that, probably the next day or at the meeting where I'm more refreshed and more grounded because I know things at home are stable, I'm going to show up more present, more likely to have a higher yield on that time of investment on that my energy input into that business meeting. Just makes sense. And what will go out on a limb and say, like, I was wildly insecure about talking about this stuff for the longest time and leading with this. I used to worry, oh, well, what if my value was only about, we got to make the money, got to do the thing. And what I learned every single time, at the end of the day, most people, they don't care that much about it. Because when everything starts splitting at the seams at home, start seeing frustration in their family unit, hell, when you start getting divorced, that costs a hell of a lot of money. When all it would have taken is just go a little slower, spend a little more time on the things that matter, be a little more vulnerable with the people that matter, share why you care why you care with them, share what you're hoping to build with them. Make it simple for each of you to be successful in supporting each other, letting them know how you feel loved the most, and just showing up and doing that. It's not nearly as complicated as we often think it is. Simple does not mean easy. In fact, it's very difficult because you have to do it repeatedly. But that love grows in the sense of stability and reliability and trust, knowing you have people you can count on. I'm telling you right now, there's a few places in my life where I've had to pivot, and had I not had the relational capital and the trust and the support of those people during that time, there's not a chance I would have survived those things. It speaks to the power of relationships. And we don't see it, and you can't put a number on it until you need it. So today's reflection, again, leading into Valentine's Day, if you're going out on a date night or you're just spending some time at home, reflect on this question. Look at your significant other. or if you're looking to build your own, new relationship, you're aspiring to find somebody to share this journey of life with, however you decide you want to do that. Because albeit for me to judge how you decide to do it, but because I don't know what makes you happy. Live your best life. Think about that. What are the relationships you're going to care about at the end? If there's only one you could choose, who needs to be there? Why are they there? And how do you get there? Bet you dollars to donuts they're the ones with the answer. Got to ask. Got to open up. Got to be vulnerable. You got to tell them that you care enough about that. That's where you're looking to go. It's a scary but beautiful conversation that can be had. And I remember that, ironically, the first time I ever brought it up is in the midst of an argument with my wife, which, crazy enough, the moments of friction have produced some pretty powerful lessons. I'll tell you what, that sobered up the conversation real fast. We got back to square one about like, wait, what are we arguing about? This seems ridiculous. We let the petty stuff go because guess what? The petty stuff didn't matter that much. Much like I just said before, most of the stuff we make decisions on every single day do not matter. And in that moment, in that fight, in that disagreement, what really mattered came to light. And it made the next steps forward very simple. We could accept, we could forgive, we could love. You can move through the BS much faster because you can both come together on something that matters. So my challenge to you as I prepare to sign off from this episode, one, is ask yourself that question. Who is holding your hand on your deathbed? What, in fact, is your priority? If you know who that is, and it is your significant other or whomever it is, go talk to them about it. Share with them. Why do you love them? Why do they matter? Ask how you could have improved. Where are you falling short? What do they need for support? And then in return, ask the same thing from them. Why do they love you? Is that what they want? Ask what you need or share what you need. Find a way to make it work. Ask how it's affecting the rest of their life. Ask how your relationship, when it's good or bad, affects you in other aspects of your life. Where are there overlapping themes? Can you start to see a pattern? And with that insight, reorganize your life accordingly. Maybe not all at once. I'd suggest go baby steps because that's usually the way things will stick. Baby step it. Small changes. Put it down on a piece of paper and what your long-term goal is, and then work backwards from that. Start with one small step. Make it simple, easy to succeed for both sides. And then add another thing, and then add another thing. Slowly baby step your way into a lifestyle that's going to allow you to both be sustainable in what you say you care about, to enrich and nourish the relationship, while still creating harmony and prosperity within your business and your own personal health, mental and physical and otherwise, in a way that examines and appreciates the appropriate relationship that are facilitating that type of life you're looking to curate. And just keep doing it and keep checking in. You're going to mess up. That's part of what should be expected. So if you check in, give yourself a chance to recalibrate, to come back on track, to refocus, because you're going to both mess up because you are human. And that's what makes this fun. And you're going to learn some new things. What if something changes? Cool. Then you have a new conversation. It will make it exciting. Dare I say that makes your relationship fun? Who knows? But I'll close out this reflection again to reiterate, all of this really comes down to the relationship with my wife and what she has taught me. This entire business that I've been building has been a reflection and an observation of everything that she has allowed me to see. In learning more about myself, I've become a better, I at least attempt to become a better husband. One day hope to be an improving, ever improving father, a better friend, better son, better sibling, better leader, better business owner, better leader of my own self. So to you again, Lexi, I thank you and I love you. I'll forever be grateful to you. And I hope in some way, shape, or form that anything I've shared today will resonate with somebody else out there and hopefully helps you move the needle towards creating a more prosperous life within yourself, more prosperous relationships, and ultimately allows you to have your own version of who's holding your hand on your deathbed, a way for you to be able to find perspective and clarity amidst the chaos, and find a way to point you in the direction of where you really want to be. Those are all my thoughts for today, my friends. Thank you again for joining me on another episode of Naked Sunday. I hope you find some value in this. Please share, drop a review, whatever, all those fun things. Enjoy your Valentine's Day as well. Share some time with your loved ones. Tell them why you love them. And if you're looking for more support, never hesitate to reach out. That's what it's all about. With that in mind, my reminder as we sign off, love everybody.